right now, and joining us live from The Hague is Maarten-Jan Bakkum, a global emerging markets equity strategist at ING Investment Management. Thank you for joining us today. Brazil telling us that this currency war is already being waged. Is that really true? Is this actually underway at the moment?
Well, depends on what your definition of a war is, but I guess indeed there has been much more tension on all these countries to do something about the appreciation of their currencies. At the same time, I must say that the appreciation of most emerging currencies has been quite strong, but it's not that all these currencies are back at peak levels. Now, a lot of emerging currencies are still below levels reached before 2008. But it's understandable that there's a lot of opposition from lobby groups within these countries to do something about it.
And when you see the Yuan being kept undervalued, and then you see the Fed actually putting in money which will effectively devalue the dollar, no matter what Timothy Geithner says, isn't it true that there may be emerging countries who are looking at some kind of protectionist measures? Is that a problem that's likely to surface?
Well, it is a risk that we all should look at all the time, but I think it's a very distant risk, because at this time, you know, the world is the economy is so well integrated, and there's so many companies doing business in emerging markets from the US or Europe. I think it's very difficult to see like widespread protectionism because the interests at stake are very high. At the same time, I must say that something will have to happen, and you mentioned the Chinese currency. No, something will have to be given by the Chinese, I guess. Whether that's this weekend or not, that's the question. But appreciation in China probably has to accelerate a bit.
Now let's look at these emerging countries who are coming to South Korea this weekend. Who is in the strongest economic position? It's not necessarily the countries that we all think of, the BRICS, is it?
Well, at this point in the emerging world, I think it's not really only the BRICS that are doing well. China, India, Brazil are doing well from a growth perspective. Russia is actually not doing so well. But other countries like Indonesia or Egypt or Turkey, smaller Latin American countries like Colombia, Peru, are actually doing at least as well as the BRIC countries.
Now, all eyes, of course, are on China at the moment. Is it still appealing as an investment in stocks there?
I think it is appealing. It is appealing for a few reasons. I think the first is that probably Chinese economic growth is bottoming out somewhere in the next 3 to 4 months. That's normally an interesting point to look at that market. At the same time, we know that China is not an expensive market from a global perspective at this point, which is quite unique for China. And also China has really been a laggard this year. So that means that in a bit of a more quiet global environment, what we do expect for 2011, China should be able to outperform. And the whole discussion about the currency, if anything, the currency will have to appreciate a bit more. And that should also help flows to China and also equity market returns in that country.
And just before we go, looking at the risks in Russia and Brazil, are we seeing increased risk there?
Well, I think in Russia we have a longer-term issue with politics and corporate and public governance in general. I think Brazil actually is going quite well. There's elections, second round of the elections next week. I think we will get a president that probably will have the same economic policy more or less as the outgoing government. So Brazil probably continues to grow fast and without too much change. So I would say that Brazil looks good. Russia is a structural issue. You know, we don't really feel very comfortable with the Russian situation.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Maarten-Jan Bakkum.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.